Hi there. Sure is spooky out here, isn't it? It's a good thing that I, the American Microphone Police, has arrived to protect you. But while I'm out here protecting you, I may as well record a podcast. And today on the Amp Says podcast, I'll be discussing if YouTube subscriber count has any impact on your channel's performance, and then judging a bunch of people's audio, so go ahead and stick around. I'm going to start with a meme, so feel free to say it with me. I looked at the news. None of it seemed interesting to me. I will not be discussing any of it. I understand. The only thing scarier than this background is the fact that there wasn't a show for Halloween. But this is the Halloween episode. Let's start with what I've been testing. It's the Lewitt. It's the LCT440. I'm running this into the Universal Audio LA610 Mark II. No EQ. I do have the limiter engaged, and that is running into the Universal Audio X8. Full disclosure, this just randomly appeared from Lewitt, and it was perfect timing. My review of the LCT440 came out about 5 years ago, so I was planning on doing a re-review of this microphone, and it just so happened that Lewitt just put out a limited edition color of this mic. It is the exact same 440, but it's in green, and I think it looks awesome. So full disclosure, sent to me by Lewitt, but I was planning on buying one, so it saved me a few bucks. Is a loaner. It is a loaner. I do not own this, but that's what I am using. That is how it sounds. Let me know what you think of it, because I have always found their 240 and 440 to be a bit bright. Especially for a voice like mine. So let me know what you think. Maybe running it through the 610 helps. Maybe running it into the X8 helps. Who knows? You know. Okay, that is it for what I have been testing. What do we do now? Oh yeah, the American Microphone Police do not have access to my phone. We'll jump to what you had to say. First comment comes from Hobby Racer 2814. He says, was that an AI voice in the outro saying this has been a Geeks Rising production? Was that already in the last episode? And why pizza? Is that a reference to Five Nights at Freddys? Hobby Racer, thank you very much for the comment and the question. That voice in the outro was not AI. That was a commission from Music Radio Collective. I think that's the name, MRC. It is Mike Russell and his wife. They do jingles for radio. They do a lot of YouTube videos about production for radio and just audio production in general. Why pizza? That's because I always say, please bring pizza pronto to test plosives. I enjoy pizza, and I did this a few years ago when I was still eating a lot of pizza. That's the story there. And as I mentioned last week or last episode when somebody said, new outro, I found a folder of all of these outros that I had for the BSP, and I figured, let's mix it up a bit. Let's throw some of those back in the mix and see how it goes. So that was one that I found. I had forgotten that I did that. And that was the conclusion. That was the solution. That was the outcome, is the word I was looking for, of hiring Music Radio Collective in one of their live streams to do an outro. I also had them do one of those as a thank you to the Discord server. That was 2020, I think. Very different time. Okay, that's the answer to that question. Next, we have a comment from Control Style. He says, it's be fair, YouTube numbers are way down if your name isn't Mr. Beast. Even say Tim the Tatman's numbers are down 80%. Everyone moved on to other stuff or whatever. Control Style, thank you very much for the comment. I'm a bit skeptical about your statements. I did understand that things for the tech side of things are down, especially if you aren't the biggest of the big. If you're not Linus, if you're not MKBHD, numbers are down. And that makes sense. My explanation for that was money, the economy. People have less disposable income, so they are looking to upgrade their equipment less, which means they're researching new items less, which means people are viewing your videos less if you're covering general tech. Now, the reason why I think the biggest of the big in these arenas may be weathering the storm a bit better is because they have large staffs. Staffs. What I mean by that, or why that matters, they have people who can focus 100% of their job reviewing stuff. And hopefully by having dedicated staff that focuses solely on reviewing stuff, they can be more thorough, they can be more in-depth, they can cover their bases, they can ensure that what they're doing is correct. You know why I'm giggling, because I mentioned a big name that just got into some hot water because of that. But they don't just have staff focusing on reviewing stuff, they also have staff that can focus on tangential stuff, education stuff, forecasting stuff. So by having different staff members focusing on different things, they can cover a wider array of topics that are related to the main focus of the channel. And I think that's why a lot of them are able to weather the storm where people are spending less on tech, they have less disposable income, so they're looking to upgrade less, so they're researching new technology less, but they're still interested in those focuses so they can look at the education stuff, they can look at the forecasts for upgrade cycles, they can look at how to use certain pieces of gear, how to get the best out of using specific pieces of gear. Now, as far as YouTube's numbers as a whole being down, I'm sure they are down because some people are going outside more, some people are using TikTok more, some people are just burned out on being online, so they're signing off more. But I can say with probably 100% certainty that YouTube's numbers are not down 80%, maybe 10%, 20% would seem reasonable. But an 80% drop doesn't seem likely to me. That seems far too extreme, especially if we're explaining that drop by people going outside. People are not going outside 80% more or spending 80% less time on YouTube to go outside. I highly doubt people are spending 80% less time on YouTube to spend that on TikTok. And I highly doubt people are spending 80% less time on YouTube because they're signing off. So maybe numbers are down, probably numbers are down on YouTube, but to what extent, I don't know. I think the biggest shift that a lot of people are seeing is a lot of people had that huge influx of views during the pandemic, and now those people are no longer watching. So we're back to a bit of normalcy. If you compare numbers from 2018, 2019 to 2023, there is still likely a drop for many people, but it's not going to be an 80% drop, maybe 10, 20%, something like that. Thank you very much for the comment, Control Style. That is my input on the topic. I just can't imagine such a massive cultural shift or a massive behavioral shift like people spending 80% less time on platform. Maybe Tim saw an 80% drop from peak during COVID, during the lockdown, when so many people were spending way more time online. But if you compare Tim the Tatman in 2023 to 2018, 2019, probably a more realistic or less exaggerated drop. Next, we have a comment from Pags from MEI Studio. He says, as I approach the 1K sub count, I'm excited to see if the algo changes things up. The stats for me up until now have been very consistent. Others who are way beyond me sub-wise have said to prepare for things to get weird. Did you notice things shifting around when you hit 1K, 10K, 100K sub marks? Or is it just the number of subs that feeds on itself and keeps growing? Pags, thank you very much for the comment and the question. Before I share any thoughts, I want to start by saying congratulations on getting near to that massive milestone. 1,000 subscribers is no small feat. It takes so much work, so much dedication. Getting near that is huge, so congratulations are in order. I hope you get there soon. As far as hitting 1,000 subs having any impact on the channel's performance in regards to the algorithm, when I hit 1,000 subs, it was a very different time. This was 2015, I think, that I hit 1,000. So the algorithm was completely different. The platform was completely different. This podcast channel, I think I hit 1,000 around 2018. Again, very different time, very different algorithm. My Clips channel just hit 1,000 subs, and I haven't noticed any change on that channel. It is just continuing to chug along at the regular pace, although I don't really focus too heavily on making the greatest thumbnails, the greatest titles, the most enticing topics. I just take the most interesting topics from this show, clip it so it's more consumable, and put it on the Clips channel. But as far as podcastage, I didn't see any massive shift in 2015 for the BSP. I didn't see any massive shift in 2018 or I don't know exactly what date it was, but I didn't see any huge shift. I think what people may be seeing when they hit 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 is a culmination of all of their work, because you don't hit 1,000 subs or 10,000 or certainly not 100,000 if you're not doing something right. And you don't hit that number overnight. Chances are it took you years to get there. And once you spend years making videos, you're gonna be better at what you're doing. So by the time you hit 10,000 or 100,000, you're going to be fairly proficient, or you should be fairly proficient at what you're doing. So I think that's going to lead to you being more successful on platform, because you're going to be more comfortable on camera, your format's going to be more ironed out, you're going to seem more professional, you're going to seem more natural, your videos should hopefully be improved, you should be better. And I think that's what a lot of people are seeing. Another aspect that I think may be contributing to channels seeing a shift in the performance when they hit these milestones has nothing to do with the algorithm. It has to do with users' behavior on the platform. I think that subscription number acts as some kind of social proof. So what I mean is, if you make educational content, or rather, if you're searching for educational content, you're likely going to click on a video from a channel with 100,000 subs as opposed to a channel with 10 subscribers, because that channel with 100,000 subscribers is clearly doing something right, because they have garnered 100,000 viewers. So they're likely going to know something about what they're talking about. With 10 subscribers, they don't really have that social proof. Now, I'm not saying the person with 10 subs doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know what they're talking about. They may be brand new. The information may be the greatest information ever, but they just don't have that subscriber number that is equivalent to the quality of the information they're offering. So that is my take on the situation. I wish I could say when you hit 1K, 10K, 100K, 300K, that the YouTube algorithm says, all right, boy, all right, we're going to push you to everybody. You're going to get super famous, and here are your truckloads of money. I would love that, because I want a truckload of money. YouTube, are you listening? Give me a truckload of money. That's me trying to be a big burly cop man. I would love for that to be the case. But I think you're on the right track, because your channel is fantastic. The value that you offer people is fantastic. You are offering a level of detail that I have not seen in any other microphone reviews. You go into detail at a level that I could not conceive of. So you are doing the right thing. You are helping people make informed decisions. You are educating people, sharing history, sharing different use cases that a lot of people overlook. So you are on the right track. You're building up that back catalog, which is super helpful. And you're developing skills and getting more comfortable making videos, and your videos just get better and better. So although I don't think there's any algorithmic change coming up, I think you're on the right track and things are looking up for you. So keep up the great work, keep making fantastic videos, and you'll just continue to grow and do well. Thanks so much, Pags. Appreciate you. Next, we have a comment from Sound Speeds. He says, now that you've gargled in a video, I think it's an important microphone test you should include in all of your reviews. And this unfortunately got 12 thumbs up, even including from me. Whoops. Alan, thank you very much for the comment and the suggestion. I had to include this because it seems like a popular opinion, a popular idea. I find this repulsive and disgusting. I find this to be a disgusting idea. I do not want to do this again. I do not want to include this in videos. I certainly do not want it to be a regular test in my microphone review video. So curse you. Bad idea, Alan. Bad idea. You are a bad influence, and I'm not going to let you lead me down a dark path of gargling on camera. Even saying it sounds disgusting. Yuck. Now let's get to a Rodecaster Duo poo-poo session. First comment comes from CB Demented. The Duo should perform exactly like the Pro 2. Same hardware and firmware, just less inputs. Something you might want to mention. If people want to use the Audio drivers with multitrack, this will need exclusive access to the USB 1 main device. So if it happens to be in use in a different program, it won't be able to run or take access for itself. You will need to select any other input-output in Windows other than the main in order for it to function in a DAW or OBS, and you cannot route an application to main. It will not play. CB Demented, thank you very much for the comment. As a non-Windows user, I don't understand much of what you're saying, but I am sure the Windows users out there will appreciate you sharing that information, and you had sent an email as well, so I am taking this time to share that information. There you go, Windows users. Now you know what CB Demented knows. Next comment comes from Gregory Chinas and TJ Zupi. I always mess up their names. Okay, they say, I have the same issue with the RCP2 randomly popping, or it sounds more like a low-pitch click to me. After trying many things, including resetting many times, I could not find the reason. I still have to try when powered by battery. Also, the deep click happens only when recording on the device itself. It does not happen when just talking or recording in a DAW pass-through, sort of. I thought it was the SD card at one point, but it happened again even when I tried with two different ones. I stopped using the RCP2 and I use the Duo now. However, I still have to record something with it since I prefer using the Apollo Twin X or Mix Pre 3 because I don't want to take any risk. I'd probably do a test with a Duo soon and see what happens. Hopefully the pop and click won't be there. TJ says, yep, that's it. I've stopped using the Duo completely for paid VO. The D-Click plugins don't always get those pops out. Thank you very much, Greg, and thank you very much, TJ, for this information. I really appreciate it because this indicates that it's not an isolated incident. It's not just Sir Truck Driver. It is not just me. It is also you, Greg. It is also you, TJ. And I think it's important for people to know that that is an issue. These low-frequency pops or clicks that kind of sound like a buffer size issue are not just occurring on a select few, or maybe we are the minority. We are the few that got devices that have this issue. Now, I didn't encounter this when I was using the RCP Duo just for voice calls. I did encounter it, though, when I was recording into Audio Hijack. Something I may want to try to see if this avoids it is multi-tracking, because I think I was capturing the main stereo output. So perhaps if I capture the individual tracks that I want on separate tracks, maybe that would do it. I don't know. I'm going to have to do a bit more testing and digging, but thank you both very much for sharing your information and your experience. Much obliged. Now we are jumping to the value for value portion of this show. If you're watching on YouTube and you don't see any ads and you don't use an ad blocker and you don't have YouTube Premium, that is thanks to every week these individuals who support the show financially return value to the show, and I keep ads off because of them. So a huge thanks to them. First super thanks comes from TechMed Rainer Richter, €15. He says, Danke. TechMed Rainer Richter, as always, thank you so much for the €15. Thank you for the support. It really does help me continue to produce these videos. Secondly, we have $15 from Liberty Dude. He says, Roadcaster popping. Could this be artifacting due to overdone onboard processing? Would love to know if this is also found on raw, unprocessed recordings. What processing on the Roadcaster, if overdone, can cause recording artifacts? Liberty Dude, thank you so much for the $15. It helps me keep the bills paid, keeps the show running, and keeps the ads off. So thank you very much. As far as your proposition or your suggestion, I thought it sounded great, but I believe it was TJ who chimed in and said, even when you have zero processing engaged, the popping still occurs. But just like I will be testing multi-tracking to see if the pops continue to occur, I will also try shutting off all of the processing, try processing it, and then capturing the unprocessed as well, and see if we can identify where and how to avoid the pops. So thank you again, Liberty Dude and TechMed Rainer Richter. I really do appreciate your support. Now let's jump to my favorite part of this show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome back to the Ask Bandrew segment, the segment where you send in questions to me, Bandrew, and I attempt to answer you. So go to askbandrew.com, askbandrew.com. What is it? Say it with me, askbandrew.com. I have instructions on how to send in audio, video, and text. I do prefer audio and video submissions because we get to hear how you sound. You get a break from hearing me read. It is beautiful. I do have a reminder and a request because we have some very long submissions today. If you can, please keep it under 60 seconds, 90 seconds at the most. That would be greatly appreciated. Our first submission today comes from Shib from France. Take it away, Shib from France.
Hey, Bandrew, it's Shib. I've started listening to your podcast a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know if those questions have been answered before. So I'm sorry if it's going to take long, but I have a couple of questions. My first question is, my room is not acoustically treated. So when using a condenser microphone, would listeners be able to hear people talking outside or in another room in my recording if they crank up the volume high enough? I can't hear it in my headphones, but I wonder if a crazy person would abuse the volume and the limiter to be able to hear everything in my recording. Okay, so my second question is, I'm very nasally congested all of the time, but I can't find the frequencies that I need to reduce. Because after years of listening to my voice, I still feel like I don't know what I sound like. So it's kind of hard to hear what frequencies are bothering for recording. Third question, in your opinion, is a foreign accent a big deal for English voiceovers? I'm from France, but I speak more English than French, but I still have an accent. Would it be a big deal for voiceover? And the last question, in your opinion, what would be too much EQ? I usually boost or reduce 1 decibel and not more to keep the microphone's tone and character. So what would be too much for you? Thank you, Bandrew, for taking the time to respond to my questions. I absolutely love your podcast. I listen to it every week in the bus. I love it. So yeah, have an excellent day, and I cannot wait to hear the podcast.
Shib, thank you very much for the audio submission. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do it. Your first question, can people crank the volume on your recording to hear people speaking in the background? Yes. People could do this with any recording if there is background noise that is not gated out. They can throw on a limiter, increase the gain 60, 70 dB, and hear what's going on in the background. Of course, if you speak, you will blow out their ears, but they would be able to do this. I thought of a very easy solution to this. Set a gate with minus infinity and have the threshold at minus 60 decibels, minus 70 decibels. So if the sound is too quiet, it gets reduced to negative infinity. It gets shut off. Then somebody could increase your gain 100,000 decibels and they wouldn't hear anything because that is minus infinity. That is below zero. It doesn't exist. There is nothing there. That's the solution I came up with. Question 2 is you always sound nasally and congested. What frequencies are causing that? First off, I didn't think your recording sounded too nasally. I didn't think it sounded too congested. If that is how you sound, though, embrace it. I was planning on doing a sample or having it in my notes. Hey, this is the frequency to cut. I forgot to do it before I started recording, so I will cut to that right now and see if I can identify where the nasal frequencies are, and then I'll include a sample. So here's future Bandrew doing that for you.
Okay, so my second question is, I'm very nasally congested all of the time. Okay, so my second question is, I'm very nasally congested all of the time. I still feel like I don't know what I sound like, so it's kinda hard to hear what frequencies are bothering for recording. I still feel like I don't know what I sound like, so it's kinda hard to hear what frequencies are bothering for recording.
Question 3 is, does a foreign accent matter for voiceover? I want to point out, I do not cast voiceover, I am not a casting director, I don't work in film and television, I don't work in any kind of voiceover position, so I am speculating. But I imagine that there are plenty of gigs out there, plenty of calls for voice actors who have an accent. There must be plenty of roles out there that require somebody from France, but the words being spoken are in English. So in that case, somebody born and raised in France who has a French accent speaking English would be the ideal casting. So I don't know how many of those roles there are out there, but I imagine there are plenty. And there are plenty of roles that I'm sure doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have an accent or not. They likely just want the best person for the role, and as long as you are putting your best foot forward, you're probably doing the best you can. That's what you can do. Embrace it and rock and roll. And your final question is, how much EQ is too much EQ? I don't like putting a numerical figure on that because I don't think there really is one. When you're EQing something, your goal is to get a certain sound. Sometimes that requires more aggressive EQing. I personally, when I'm EQing a microphone that I like the sound of and maybe just want a minor tweak, the most I'll use is 2.5 dB, but I have gone well and far above that. Is that a saying? I don't know. I've used a lot more than 2.5 dB when EQing something. When I was EQing a microphone that I hated the sound of, I think I did -5, -6 dB. When I was EQing a headset to try to get it to match a large diaphragm condenser, I think I did 10, 15, 20 dB. When I have tried to match the EQ of the Logitech, whatever the new Logitech Yeti GX was, the dynamic mic, I tried to match the EQ with the 7B and the RE20. That was adding 20 decibels in the bass frequencies. So I think it comes down to what you're trying to accomplish. It sounds as though you know what you're doing. 1 dB is going to be very hard to tell a difference. So I would say, don't put that limit on yourself. Just use the EQ to get the sound that you want, and sometimes that will lead to you using more than 1 dB boosting or cutting. There you go. That's my take on it. Thank you very much, Shib. I really do appreciate you. Next submission comes from Dave. Take it away, Dave.
Hi Bandrew, my name's Dave and I record gameplay videos and I need your help and advice on a specific audio matter. I record using NVIDIA Shadowplay and my microphone is a Fifine K669D going into an Audient Evo 4 audio interface. I record, unfortunately, at 16-bit 48 kilohertz because that's the maximum bit rate that Shadowplay will support, and I edit in DaVinci Resolve. I record two separate tracks, so I've got my gameplay audio on one track and I've got my microphone audio on the second track. I use the dialogue isolator on my microphone track so that I remove any background noises, any computer fans, keyboard, mouse clicks, that sort of stuff, because I don't record in a treated room at all. And I then use sidechain to duck the game audio as I speak, so that I get a bit of separation between the game audio and my speech as it comes through. So hopefully people can hear me clear, and that is where I kind of need your advice, because when it comes to editing audio, I have a major problem with it. I'm deaf. I have, what do they call, moderate to severe hearing loss in both ears, and it's not equal across all frequencies. So for example, I can hear sub bass and high treble very well, but I can't hear mids, I can't hear presence, I can't hear sibilants very well, and I have a weird sort of boost in the nasal midpoints, which makes everything sound a bit strange. So when I'm recording my audio, I'm a bit reluctant to use any EQs and compression on it, because I don't know what effect it will have, because I can't hear it from how another person would hear it. I don't get their idea of how it sounds. So I really could do with your advice on how my audio sounds and what you would recommend in terms of processing to make it sound better. I really appreciate the help and support. I've been watching your channel for a long time, and it was actually your video on the Fifine K669D that made it think it was a microphone for me, because it's got that lovely top end to it. And yeah, any feedback you can give me will be absolutely fantastic, and I wish you a very, very good day.
Dave, thank you very much for the submission. I really do appreciate it. Your question is, how does your audio sound? And you're asking because you have moderate to severe hearing loss that is uneven across frequencies. I think that your audio is more than listenable. I think it sounds pretty good. If I was looking for Let's Plays of whatever games you play and I came across your channel and your videos, I would not have any serious complaints. The one thing that I wasn't the biggest fan of was the level of the game audio. Now, I don't know how much talking you do in your videos, and the reason that's important, maybe you want the game audio to be loud because you want people to hear what is being spoken in the game. But if the main draw to your channel is you personally, I would decrease the game audio by 3 dB, 4 dB, because it got a bit loud, a bit overbearing, in my opinion, when you weren't speaking. I thought it was a bit on the high side. So I would roll that back a little bit. And other than that, I think it sounds pretty darn good. I would have no issues with that. And you're making a point that using expensive gear is not necessary. You sounded perfectly fine and perfectly listenable with an affordable microphone. Well done. Next, we have a submission from Mr. Malby. Take it away, Mr. Malby.
Hey Bandrew, my name is Malcolm and I am from Australia. I've been watching your stuff for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years, both the BSP podcast and the Podcastage channel. Seen a lot of mic reviews on that, which I love. But I just want a bit of an idea about how my voice audio sounds. You see, I have a gaming YouTube channel called Mr. Malby. And I just want to have the best audio that I can with the gear that I have. So what the gear that I do have is I have an Audio Technica ATM41HE. It's a handheld dynamic microphone with a superchiroid polar pattern. I have that running into the Audient Evo 4 audio interface. I record directly into OBS with a negative 10 decibel limiter just to stop it clipping. And then all my post-processing is done in DaVinci Resolve in the Fairlight audio program that they have in that. So I'll flicker between the compressor settings that I have on the screen and the EQ settings that I have. So I'll flip between these just so that you can get a bit of an idea of where my settings are at. Also, on top of this, I have a noise reduction setting on because I work on a laptop, a gaming laptop, so it's very, very loud. I'll just give you a bit of an idea. I'll turn my fan on to max so you can hear what it sounds like while I'm actually playing a game. That's maximum fan turned on right now. And yeah, this is how it compares to when I have the noise reduction on and when I have the noise reduction off. And you can hear a little bit of the fan in the background because it is very loud. And then when I turn the noise reduction on, this is how it sounds. Yeah, I can't really notice with my ears any major flaws that it puts in the audio. Maybe you can, and maybe you can let me know how to counteract it a little bit, or whether you just embrace a bit of fan noise. So that is basically the rundown. But yeah, if you have any pointers, any suggestions, maybe you even just think it sounds pretty good as it is. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Mr. Malby, thank you very much for the submission. I really do appreciate it. Your question is, how does my audio sound? Another one of those questions, why do you think the American microphone police are protecting you from werewolves and bad audio? I'm gonna say it. I think your audio is more than listenable. I would have zero complaints if I came across it, except for one thing. I found your audio to be on the quiet side. Maybe it didn't process it the way that you do for your stream or for your videos, but I thought it was on the quiet side. I don't think that a limiter needs to be set for minus 10 dB. What I would do instead is have the limiter be the last stage of processing, change the limit from minus 10 to minus 1, maybe minus 2 dB, and then add a gain stage or add a gain plugin to boost up your audio 10 dB, maybe 8 dB. I don't know exactly how much it needs to be boosted, but the audio that I got was quiet. I had to boost it up quite a bit in post. I don't know how much I've done that yet because I'm going to have to boost it once I have the podcast audio processed and I'm matching everything. But that's how I would approach it. I would shift the limiter to be the last stage and then increase the level of your audio by 8-ish dB and set the limiter to minus 1 dB or minus 2 dB because you don't need to limit it to minus 10 dB. That's a bit too quiet. Then you say that you think your audio is a bit too muddy. I didn't hear it being too muddy, but if you want to clean up those low mids a bit, I would do maybe a 1.5 dB cut focused around 120 to 140 hertz. I didn't think your voice was overly nasally, so I wouldn't do anything there. And finally, the noise reduction. That sounds perfectly fine to me, especially when you have Let's Play going on in the background, and that's going to be an underlying sound bed that will mask a lot of imperfections in your audio. The noise reduction was more than fine. I think you're well on the track to having great audio, and you sound a lot better than a lot of Let's Players out there. I am very proud of the Let's Players in the BSP community. Thank you for having good audio and not making me shame you. Both of you. Great. That is it for this episode. The American Microphone Police have successfully protected you from werewolves and bad audio. Thank you so much for coming by this week. Sorry I missed last week. I needed a day off. I kind of needed one again today, but I forced myself because I'm not going to get into the habit of skipping every Sunday. Forced myself and didn't allow myself to just constantly re-record, screw up, re-record. No, I sat down or stood up. I walked out to the woods. I protected you, and I forced myself to do it. So that is it. Thank you again for coming by. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. I love you so much. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Whoa. Whoa. Boop.
You've been listening to the Bandrew Says podcast, a Geeks Rising production. Geeks Rising is a podcast network that exists to help you become a better creator and explore your passions. To learn more, head on over to geeksrising.com.